Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the August member meeting for Klamath Film. We just barely fit it in. Our guests are off getting drinks and ordering food. But thank you to those who are joining online. And thank you to our new folks. We have a few announcements that we wanted to go through. We also want to get a sense to know everyone else, let you know about some cool upcoming things. And then our guests tonight are Nick Alexander Films, which is a regional film production company that does both a lot of commercial work and some narrative drama work as well, including one film that they made last year that's going to be in the upcoming film festival this year. So with that, we'll wait for the guests to get back, normally to start off introductions. But I should say I built a whole bunch of like slides, and Ecamm is not cooperating with Zoom right now. So only the folks who are here will actually be able to see them on my laptop, and just barely. So apologies for that. First off, we have some giveaways if people are interested. Every year we make these little cheat sheets for students in our film camp. And we ended up with some extras this year. So this is about, this is something you can clip to a backpack or a camera bag or something. And it's basically everything we teach in the film camp. It's a quick little cheat sheet for filmmaking and photography. So we have a few extras. If anyone is interested in them, go ahead and snag one and pass it along.
Awesome.
Yeah. I have several of them attached to every backpack and camera bag that I have. They're incredibly useful. So yeah, absolutely. So a few things that's been going on with Klamath Film. We taught our annual summer film camp earlier this month, August 7th through the 11th, middle school and high school kids at KCC. Several films that kids made and or are currently making will be in the film festival this year. Cassidy helped with the instruction. So it was Cassidy and myself, along with a few other board members and helpers that assisted with it. Oh yeah, Lori, you're gonna have to pick one up. Or come find us at one point, and we'll pass it your way. But I thought our camp went great. This was our 4th year doing it, entirely grant funded. So it was 100% free for all the kids that participated. Several films were made on campus, and kids now have checked out some equipment and they're off making their own films. And so those will be part of the film festival coming up in September. I had some photos, which of course you can only barely see on my computer. Normally they'll be popping up on Zoom, but for whatever reason, software doesn't want to cooperate today. And then we have our schedule, which you absolutely cannot see. But this year we have more films in the Klamath Independent Film Festival than we've ever had any other year. It's our 11th year of the festival. It'll be September 22nd through the 24th at the Ross Ragland. We love our guild. Thank you for all of your help every year. Normally we fit between 30 to 35 films every year. And this year we had to cheat because the submissions we got, we couldn't whittle it down to just 35 films. There were too many that were too good, and we're like, we just don't have the heart to cut this. So for the first time ever, we're doing an online exclusive category where films that we just did not have enough screen time to fit them into our 3 days. We will be having those available exclusively for our online audience, because our festival is in person at the theater, and then every film is also made available online to watch on demand, and we also live stream everything that we do from on stage. So if you have an online pass, you can check out all that. Anyone in the country, anyone around the world can join in on the Klamath Independent Film Festival. You hopefully have seen some of these posters up on town or some of the yard signs. If anyone is willing to take a stack of posters and yard signs and I'll put them up, I'm sure Cassidy would love the help.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Puck.
There's some in the car that I'm sure we can dump off on people if people are willing to help out with that. So this year we had so many great films. We decided to do this online category, and it may be something we continue. And I didn't understand why we had so many. It wasn't just quantity, but it was also quality of film this year was unlike any that we've ever seen. Our festival is, of course, unique. We're the only festival around that exclusively shows made in Oregon films. And all of the Oregon filmmakers stepped up their game this year big time, and I had to stop and think, what was it? What caused this? And I realized, well, a lot of these filmmakers had 2 years to sit around at home twiddling their thumbs with a lot more time to edit and work on a script and really develop their film. So we're seeing the positive results, I guess, of the COVID pandemic. Yeah, and a lot of animation came out this year, which everyone knows is very tedious to make. Some of it looks absolutely fantastic. It looked incredible. So very proud of our filmmakers this year, and we can't wait to show off the festival. So hopefully people can join us the 22nd through the 24th at the Ross Ragland. Anything you want to add to that, Cassidy?
Sure. I'll add something. Well, I got the pleasure of chatting with Nina today because we do one-on-one filmmaker interviews for the film festival. So if you have a full pass, you can watch the interviews with the online portion as well. And yeah, I think the filmmakers just echoed your point, Kurt, when I was asking them about what they were doing and their inspiration. They're like, yeah, I just had so much time to like be creative and everything and work on my scripts. And it's just been really fun chatting with all the filmmakers, and it's a really special film festival for them and for the community. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Terrific. And then we also cheated a little bit more in that normally our opening night, we just show one film. So last year we did National Lampoon's Animal House. We had a whole toga party around it and a cast reunion, a whole celebration. Every year we pick one film that's a made in Oregon film to celebrate. And this year, again, we had so many films. We're like, we can't cut them, but we need to showcase them. Thankfully, there were several films that had similar themes. So this year, instead of doing one film, we're showing 4 films our opening night that all run into a similar theme. So we have 4 films all about water, which we thought was very poignant right now because of all the dam removal that's happening. And obviously it's a big ongoing issue on local level between irrigators and communities and tribes and all that. So we have 4 really interesting films that cover different aspects of that topic. So our opening night is going to be a water theme. Our Saturday, September 23rd, will be all feature films, and Sunday, September 24th, will again be all of our shorts. And the Southern Cascade Woodcrafters Guild are once again making our awards, just like they have for the last several years. So with that, the Nick Alexander crew should be here in a little bit, but let's go around and do introductions so everyone has a sense of who everybody is. So let's start off with our folks online. Nina, hello. Since your name was dropped just a minute ago, why don't you introduce yourself to the crowd?
I am Nina Oberlin. I'm a production designer, set builder, animator, do puppets and kind of a lot of things. Anything that involves like animation, stop motion, kind of what I do. I'm also the secretary on the Klamath board. And I live out in Lafayette. So I'm not local, but it's a great group I like being a part of.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nina. Wayne, always great to have you on board. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Wayne Sweat. Well, you can see it right up there on the screen. I am an actor. I've directed and produced and did about everything else on a film, but I am primarily an actor. That's what I love. But on a side note, I wanted to apologize. I'd volunteered to do some stuff, kids camp and what have you, Comic-Con, and I ended up in the emergency room the night before Comic-Con, and then the day after, I was at my doctor's office. So I've had a better time and just really wasn't able to do what I'd said I would do. And so I want to let you guys know I do appreciate or apologize for that. And try not to make it a habit. So with that being said, next.
Well, appreciate you being here, Wayne. Thank you. Lori, always great to have you on board.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lori, Klamath Film member, volunteer, was on the board for a couple years. I have a short film, stop motion short film, Squirrely Showdown, which will be in TIFF this year, which will be exciting to see it on the big screen.
Terrific. Thank you, Lori. Continuing is this a trilogy or is it a self-inflicted typecasting of stop motion squirrel films?
I think it's an enjoyable experience, as well as I think audiences will also find it highly enjoyable. It's different enough. I think, I had the song and I was trying to figure out the way I wanted to tell the story, and it just so happened that squirrels and jigsaw puzzle pieces fit into that story.
Wonderful. And I see Daryl Samuels is also on our Zoom call. I believe this is the first time you've joined us. So if you could introduce yourself. Daryl Samuels. If not, we'll come back to you.
Just happy to have you, Daryl.
Bueller. Bueller.
Okay, we'll go down the table. So my name's Kurt Lidke. Hello to all of our new guests. Thank you for being here. I'm the board chair for Klamath Film, former executive director before Cassidy. I am a filmmaker. I'm the campus videographer for Klamath Community College, drone pilot, worked in Hollywood for many years before I moved up to the Klamath Basin, and thoroughly enjoy being able to put on the annual Klamath Independent Film Festival along with Cassidy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Lee Thornton. I own a local film production company here in Klamath Falls named handsofservice.tv. I focus on short film, investigative documentary, and minting NFT digital art and physical art.
No worries. We'll just go down the table here, pass mics around, and introduce yourself. And
I'm Ruth Olson. I work at the Ross Raglan Theater as the volunteer coordinator. I'm also in the guild there, so I'm just popping in to see what you guys are up to.
Happy to have you.
Are you a film creative at all, or just a film fan, or?
Yeah, I have no idea about
watched movies before.
Yeah,
I've watched movies, but hey, whatever.
You
never know. You gonna talk?
Sure.
You can one?
Whichever one, Jay.
Sorry, we only have 4 mics, so with this many people, we'll have to share a little bit.
I'm Jay Schindler. Hello. I'm Jay Schindler. I'm Ruth's husband and a board member down at the theater, and just recently retired. I'm just interested in what's happening, so we're just taking notes.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, is it going any
further? That may be the peak of our.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, there's a little more slack.
A little more.
There.
It's okay.
More slack. More slack.
Sure. Go.
I got slack. Wow. That's rich. Yeah, slack, that much slack. Art Belsky, former board member, and one day I'll have more time to do a film.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. I love seeing the new faces, the longtime friends of Klamath Film and new time friends. I am Cassidy. I'm the director of Klamath Film. We're a nonprofit that does member meetings like this and the film festival. And I started out as a member and somehow suckered them into hiring me. And I kind of joined because I have a passion for science storytelling and like conservation documentaries. So maybe a little bit more on the nerdy side rather than the cool filmmakers here. But super excited to be here and to see everybody who's here tonight. So thanks so much for being here.
My name is Bogdan. I'm an exchange student from Ukraine. I'm staying here for a year and I'm interested in film. So I want to see what you guys do here and hopefully will become a member of the Film Society.
Bogdan, what school are you currently attending?
Klamath Union.
Klamath Union? Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Ukraine. You mean what city?
Nice. The city, yeah.
Odessa.
Nice. Well, I know. We're all sorry for what's happening over there.
Yes. Thank you for supporting.
Really show it. Look.
Hi, everyone. I am Logan. I am new here to Klamath Falls. My wife and I just moved here about almost 3 weeks ago. We are from Tennessee. I graduated with an associate's in video production, and then we moved to Memphis so that she could go to law school. And there I was a product photographer for TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And that's what I've been doing for the past 3 years. And now I'm out here.
And now you're out here.
And now I'm out here. And now I'm out here. And now yeah. And wanted to see what it's all about. So thank you all for having me. No. No. Little guitar, but no banjo.
Now, did you come out here for yourself or for your wife?
For her, yes. She graduated law school in May, and now she is working for the judges as a clerk here. Yeah, because apparently there are a lot of lawyers in Tennessee and not a lot of lawyers in Oregon. So
yeah,
So she'll just take the bar here then.
no. It's university. Well, the one that she took is university.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, right.
Great.
Nice.
Right now I'm just chilling. She's got a job. We've got a nice place. I'm just gonna take a break. I'm gonna do a little bit of that's right, exactly. I'm gonna focus on being creative. Yeah.
Innocent. Live your life.
Exactly. This is the first like big thing that I'm gonna do since being here. So great. Cool. Yeah, great.
Join
the rowing team.
Sure.
On Lake you wanna. I know. I just anyway.
Rowing club film.
Yeah, I'm John Skedstad. Been in Klamath Falls for most of my life, but have hopped around a little bit. But right now I'm just kind of came back to help take care of the family, and now that they're passed and I'm dealing with the estate. And hopefully I will be done soon. I've been saying this for a while, but I know that it's going to have to happen this time for sure. So I really want to get done before we have our festival. So that's my big goal, and hopefully a lot sooner because the market's gone. And anyway, that's that. But anyways, as far as, I just have interest in film. And of course, Kurt has always been bugging me all these months in years past. It's like, what you've been doing? I'm like, nothing. But, I finally got an idea, and I wanted to make a cyberpunk movie. And I think we got a pretty good idea of what it will be. It's just getting the time to do it now. And all the technical details, minor things, but that's
perfect
me.
Timing. We're just going through all of our introductions right now, so we can just go down the line with the crewmate. Look, we have to pull up another chair or two. May have to.
There you go.
We just went around the table and around Zoom, so if the crew here could also introduce themselves. Start right here. Just introduce yourself, please, for the crew.
Right here, or
That's fine.
this way.
Okay, if you're not speaking, then yeah, we'll just. So
Well, I can move down. So
I can say we've never had this problem. So thank you
Yeah.
for being.
A good problem to have. We can always grab another table too. So
Absolutely, dude. Oh, you did not crash. I'm so excited about you. This is awesome. It's great.
always grab another table.
Yep.
If anybody's stuck on how to introduce themselves, start with your name.
You guys go? Or...
Yeah. We just went around the table. So
my name is Carson Newman, and I'm the producer and co-writer for the short film Duplicity.
Nice.
I'm Riley Wilson, and I also worked on Duplicity.
Hey everyone, Nick Alexander with Nick Alexander Films, director of the short film Duplicity, and honored to be here.
Wonderful. And we have one other person at our table, but we will let them eat. It's all good. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. For those of you who are new, welcome to Klamath Film. We are a nonprofit organization that's been around for 12 years. We serve as the film liaison office for Klamath County. So in addition to organizing the annual Klamath Independent Film Festival, we also teach an annual youth film camp And we do select screenings throughout the year from time to time. And our other role is to help with productions in the community. So whenever there are, whether it's feature films, documentaries, commercials, short films that are considering shooting in Klamath County, it's our job to work with them for location scouting, permits, lining up cast and crew calls, professional equipment. All of our members have access to a equipment collection that we add to every year of professional gear. So if anyone is interested in making a film, but they don't have the money to invest in professional gear, we've got Blackmagic cameras, C-stands, lights, microphones, backdrops. We just got a brand new professional dolly, gimbals, 8-foot camera jib, all kinds of cool toys to play with from a filmmaking side. So membership is just $25 a year. That's a whole lot cheaper than having to buy all that stuff yourself. So
deal.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. And it also gives you a discount on tickets to all of our events. We've had a very busy time lately with film productions inquiring about filming in our area, which is a wonderful problem to have. For years, we've been pushing hard of trying to make Klamath County a film destination for film productions. And it feels like that's finally starting to really bubble up to the surface. Our film festival, since it's the only one around that exclusively shows made in Oregon films, we also draw filmmakers from all over the state to Klamath for 3 days every fall. And that gives us a chance to really showcase the community and the area as a potential film location. So coming up next month, we have 2 feature films that are shooting in Klamath County. One is going to be shooting at a fire tower. So that one's pretty much set. We're working with them, but it'll be all regional. There's another film that we've heard of, but they haven't been engaging with us, that's shooting up around the Fort Klamath area. And I believe that's either shooting now or shooting in September. And then there's a third film, a third feature film that will be shooting in early October. And for that one, we have cast calls. So Wayne and anyone else who is interested, we need extras. That film will be shooting October 3rd through the 5th. On October 3rd, there's a scene at Back 40 Cafe where they need 4 extras. On Wednesday, October 4th, in the morning, they're going to be filming at Linkville Cemetery. We need 10 extras for that, for a funeral scene. And in the evening, they'll be filming at Linkville Playhouse. And we also need a bunch of extras to be audience members at the Linkville Playhouse. The 5th, they'll be shooting at Veterans Memorial Park and a few other locations. That film's called Backseat Driver. And then there is a 4th feature film that was written specifically for Klamath Falls. And this one has been in the works for some time now. It's a major Hollywood studio that's working on it, which is why we don't know the start date because of the ongoing strikes in Hollywood. It was scheduled to shoot November, December this year now, depending on when the strikes end, maybe spring or summer next year. But this is a $8 to $10 million budget film shooting in Klamath, which will be the highest budgeted film ever shot in our region. It's called School Bus Head, and it is specifically written for Klamath. It's a psychological thriller, horror elements to it. Jarrett Bryant is the screenwriter, and they have a director attached to it. There's a studio behind it. So really, we're just waiting for all of the strikes to be resolved, and then we're off and running with that one. So it's fantastic to have all of these productions upcoming. And our guest tonight also shot a film here in Klamath and had several board members and other locals be cast members in that too. So it's wonderful to see both local productions, and we're starting to entice LA productions. We also just got connected. We're now officially a part of the Location Managers Guild, which is a big deal that's based out of the Hollywood industry. So hopefully that having membership in that will start getting more eyeballs on Klamath County and start having more film productions come to our area. So the more films we can draw here, not only do we end up with a cool cultural piece at the end of the day, but it also brings a lot of money and jobs into our economy as well. Because figure any major film production is going to be shooting for about a month. So they need lodging, they need catering, they need trucking, security, local extras, if we can continue to bring productions to our area, it will bring a lot of money into our community and provide a lot of jobs. So that is the goal. With that, does anyone have any sort of announcements before we get to know our guests and anything that we want to touch base on? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Cassidy.
I finished my film today.
Oh,
thanks. I just appreciate it. Yeah, so it's on the reintroduction of the Chinook salmon. So speaking of celebrating water and stuff, so a bunch of different partners came across a whole bunch of federal and state and nonprofit agencies and are reintroducing this salmon species to come back to its spawning waters that it hasn't been in over 100 years. So kind of cool. I don't know, haven't decided yet.
Maybe a certain film festival that
Yeah.
called in Klamath Falls.
I don't know, I am running it, and so no, we'll see. I'll show it to you, Kurt, and we can talk. It's 7 minutes, so we'll see. Could be fun. Anyway, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It's always fun having a community to share stuff with. So,
has anyone else been working? I know you've been working on production work. I'm always working on production work for KCC. Has anyone else been working on any projects or any sort of announcements or things that they want to share with the crew? That includes our folks online too.
Court and I, the production that we're working on that he's producing has been delayed a little bit, but we're kind of working around SAG rules and stuff like that. But this one involves some travel and some really great scenes. So looking forward to that when we get started, probably next spring.
Very cool.
Okay, wonderful. I forgot one other film too. One of our students from our film camp needs actors very soon. She needs one female in her 20s and one male in their 20s. So if anyone is interested in appearing in a student film that will be at the Ross Raglan Theater.
Hey, just get some makeup, Jen. Good.
Yeah, I'm a little too old. We all may be a little too old, but if you know someone who's interested in acting in a film that will be an unpaid, just student film, but it should be a fun experience. And then the backseat driver production. If you're interested in being an extra in that film, October 3rd through the 5th, please let me know. We will need probably 10 to 20 extras being involved in that production. Yeah. So that film is actually being directed by a regular at our festival. Roland Stafford is the director of that. So he's based in Portland. He's made quite a few films, and he's been in our festival every year for the last, I'd say, probably 3-4 years. He won one of our awards in 2021 for his short film Zombie Walk. So yeah. And speaking of award winners at Klamath Independent Film Festival, our guests tonight. With these meetings, we always try to make them be kind of a networking event, but also a very casual Q&A with different guests each time. So there's just a chance to kind of showcase a little bit what you do. I did build a bunch of slides, and Ecamm is not cooperating with Zoom tonight. So you can't actually get them to translate over, unfortunately, but I'd put in the trailer for and I'd added some other things, and yeah, for the software doesn't want to cooperate. So very sorry about that. But if no one has any announcements or I don't know, just anything fun you've seen recently that you want to share with the crew that we should check out that's maybe on a streaming service or on TV?
Yes. Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. I was not a Trekkie, but this is the best TV show I've ever seen. So Paramount Plus, Strange New Worlds, 2nd season and the 1st season. 2-9? Wait, I don't know if I'm that far yet. Spoilers.
I don't know.
Okay.
I've seen Star Trek though musical, but I have now.
Looking forward to it. Can't wait. It's intriguing. We'll see how it goes.
Yes. It's been a while since I watched one that was a good time, but I recently watched Marcel the Snell that has shoes on.
Yes.
If you want to laugh. Yeah. Sorry, I just came across that one.
I've mentioned that one, I think, every meeting for the last like five months or so. It's a stop motion film with Jenny Slate as the main voice. There's also really great behind the scenes. It's on, I think it's on HBO Max or just Max now, and then it's also on Showtime On Demand. But it was nominated last year for Best Animated Feature Film at the Oscars. Didn't win, but it's a very heartwarming, funny, cute, incredible, great family film. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I've been promoting
great
it for
film.
months. Nina, you saw it?
Yeah, it was amazing. I loved it. It was so cute.
I love cute.
Yeah, and Anthony agrees. For me, my film watching comes to an immediate halt because today is day one of college football season. So that's all my focus for the next 3 months. Yeah. Anything else that people have been checking out that they want to share with the group or project they've been working on?
Well, there was Debbie does Dallas for the third time, and she is tired.
We don't have football, so it makes it real easy. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, this fall we are actually adding our very first sport. So KCC in a week, we're having our introductory meeting for our new soccer team. So KCC finally has a sport, and hopefully we'll have more.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is good.
September 8th, there's a meeting at Henley High School about joining the new KCC soccer team. So
you see Nebraska set the record for attendance and
92,000 people yesterday at a women's volleyball game at Nebraska. They filled the football stadium.
Deal. Yeah.
It was
oh. That's
world
awesome.
champions.
Yeah.
last
Yep.
year.
And
They said it's volleyball day in Nebraska, so everybody showed up.
And Nebraska is one of the major powerhouses of women's college volleyball. So Nebraska traditionally they have a huge loyal following anyway, and so they made a huge deal out of it. But that was very awesome to see.
But that's
Yeah.
Really?
The biggest women's sporting event in the world ever.
Yep. That happened yesterday. Women's college volleyball.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. But the stadium they have seats almost 100,000 people, so it was almost completely a sellout of the entire stadium. So very impressive. There was a big special that Sports Center was doing this afternoon of interviewing some of the players and
wow.
Yeah.
Bigger than a Taylor Swift show.
Yeah.
Good points.
Anyone else? Or we'll delve into getting to know our guests for tonight. Okay, well then let's get to know our guests. Nick Alexander Films. Nick, let's have you kind of take over the mic. And so I know you were in the SOU film program, correct?
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah. I went through SOU's program, graduated in, that was 2016. So a few years ago, and studied, cinematography. And I knew I wanted to do something in the world of films and I want to make a film someday. I didn't really know how I would do that or when, but yeah, I studied. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so came over here to Klamath. I know because your wife was going to Oregon Tech at the time, joined Klamath Film, became a board member for a little while. And your business has been growing like crazy with all of the demand for commercial work in this area. Medford, Ashland, Grants Pass, Klamath. I think you've even done some Lake County stuff. And then you opened up a Eugene office on top of that too, or in the works of Eugene office.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Back in 2019, 2020, my wife and I, we moved over here. She's actually here at the table, joining us tonight, which is so cool. But yeah, Evelyn and I, we moved over here and I personally, like as a, running my video production company, I really wasn't sure what the film community would be like, but quickly I got plugged in, got to meet Kurt and the Klamath Film, and that was really, really neat. And then that led to just doing a lot of commercial work around the Klamath County. And so now we have an office just in the downtown above the Mermaid Cafe. and also over in the Rogue Valley. And then just recently we did start doing some outreach and sales in Eugene. So it takes a long time to build a company, you know, like in that sense. But we really do take great pride here in Klamath Falls and doing a lot of good work.
And with something that was starting as a dabbling, just, oh, we'll see if anyone needs a commercial, to what now? 6 employees, 7?
Yeah.
Eight employees.
Yeah. We just added, I think it was our 7th. Yeah, it's interesting. Like Riley, actually, he's with us tonight. He's, I think, my most senior employee, which he's an awesome guy, great editor. But it's interesting, like we kind of went from like any, you know, indie film, just like wearing a lot of different hats, and we all kind of edit, we all film and this and that. And now it's kind of starting to, I'm starting to delegate, which is really important, right? I've learned to not I really can't manage. We want to, but I can't manage everything. So like, you know, we have dedicated editors like Riley. We have, you know, some people doing marketing, and then I kind of have a more of an administrative role, which feels a little weird sometimes, but it's still good. And what's great is people like Riley as an editor, he can really, you know, express himself and kind of take more kind of a more, you know, a bigger role in the company. So it's fun.
Do you still get to get behind the camera at all, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I can. Yeah, I definitely go on the video shoots as much as I can. And that's, I think, sometimes people ask me like, you know, what do you enjoy the most? And I mean, all of it, right? I mean, the pre-pro, the filming, the editing. I mean, it's all fun. I mean, I'll got to do some sales too, especially when you talk about the commercial world. But I mean, I love it all. I mean, that's why, you know, that's why we do what we do, right? I mean, we're passionate about telling stories. So yeah, definitely get out in the field as much as I can.
Great. Well, and then we need to talk about the narrative film, Duplicity, which stars several of our board members, including Wayne.
Woo, go Wayne.
And Lindsay Page and Bowen Browder, who are not joining us tonight, and Brooke Eldridge, who is a regular with us as well. So a lot of familiar faces appearing in amidst all of your crazy, chaotic commercial work.
Yeah.
You randomly decided to make a short film too. So let's hear from any of you guys in terms of how the idea came about, how the production went, and why you wanted to delve into doing a narrative short, and when you've already got a laundry list of clientele demanding, where's my commercial?
Right. Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll start and then I'll pass it down to you guys. So I don't know, probably, gosh, year and a half ago, I told these guys, like, even though we do a lot of commercial work and we have a lot of fun, I mean, commercials are, we can still express ourselves and get creative, right? But at the same time, you're just always limited by what the client needs and what their vision is. So I talked to these guys and I said, you know, long term, we really want to do narrative, right? We want to make movies. And so essentially I told them, like, let's do it. And of course, it's easier said than done, right?
Right. Like
most of the time you have an idea, but then you just never start. It's like, oh yeah, I want to do this like crazy, like
right,
horror. So, but I think for us, like I was again surrounded just by such a great team. And so I pitched it to Carson and Riley, and I said, you know, let's brainstorm, right? Let's get some ideas going. And so essentially this was just I mean, in general, this project was like a labor of love for us. We intentionally knew it might not, like, you know, go somewhere. It might not, it's a short, right? I mean, it's not a feature, but it would help us like start to get on that track, right? Like start creating narrative, writing script, working with actors. And so that was like kind of the why. And looking back, I think it's just it was one of the best decisions we made for the company, and just overall just such a fun experience. But I'll let Riley and Carson chime in.
Yeah.
Oh, you're next. Yeah, so I remember Nick reaching out to me back a year ago in December, saying, let's make a movie. Basically was the sum of the text,
because you didn't have enough to do, right?
Yeah. Well, at the time I was just done with graduate school and trying to find my footing, and thankfully I have found my footing now. I'm got a teaching job and everything. History. So I'm now a social studies teacher, but I was on that trek back in December, and Nick reached out to me and everything, and I said, all right, well, I got these writing skills, and I can put them to use, and I'll start preparing to write a script and everything. And then he came to me in the new year, because it was basically almost the end of the year when he dropped this bombshell, because we talked about making movies and everything, but I was away at university, and he was working and getting his business off the ground and just super busy. And so I thought, we can talk about making movies, we can talk about movies, we can talk about our favorite shows, and etc. But it's probably not going to happen until he said, I want to make this work and everything. And then he said, I talked to my employee Riley, and he's interested, he's on board. And so then I reached out to Riley, and we did some brainstorming for the script, and then started scheduling script writing days to get the script written. And our initial planning was, all right, we're gonna do a short film, and so we were shooting for about 30 minutes, 4 acts.
Remember, actually supposed to be 1 act. Remember? And then
True.
Let's just do the whole thing.
Yeah. I thought maybe we should go a little longer, but you were thinking, oh, I'm so busy, Nick, that you could only maybe do 1 act. And so I was like, that might not be possible. And I think even Riley had doubts about doing 1 act, just because for the work that we were going to put into it. But yeah, we got running, and like Nick said, we went from 1 act to let's actually just make it a full short, and that didn't take a lot of. We hadn't really started writing the script, so it wasn't a big struggle to make that transition. And I'll pause there to Riley to give his thoughts on the process, and then we can go into production and casting, because that casting was fun. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, we started I started meeting with Carson to talk about, writing a short film, because the client stuff, like Nick said, is fine. There's not a lot of as much creativity, I guess, as we'd want. So we came up with a short film idea. We thought it'd be fun to do a murder mystery thriller kind of thing. So Carson and I talked about it. We came up with some ideas. That's what we settled on. And then we started writing the script again.
And we should backtrack a little bit, because when your business was just getting started, we got to know you because your feature-length documentary that you'd made illegal ended up winning our award for Best Feature Film at the 2020 Klamath Independent Film Festival.
Right.
So
yeah, that was at the time, the biggest project that Nick Alexander Films had ever done. And for me, that was my ambition from college. I wanted to make a documentary, and so I did it. It was amazing. And we were just it was interesting because that year, of course, 2020, COVID, we premiered the film in New York City in January 2020. And then outside of that premiere, the only other place in the US of A that saw the film in person was right here in the Klamath Film Festival. And I mean, looking back, that really meant a lot to me, because every other film festival was over Zoom, and we were, receiving award. I was doing my speeches over Zoom, and it wasn't the same. So honestly, hats off to the film festival. I'm just that was a fond memory of mine.
We were very, very lucky. Our COVID numbers in Klamath were so low and numbers in Oregon were so low that in 2020 and 2021, we were the only film festival in the entire country that was able to hold a festival in a theater. Everyone else was either strictly online or putting them up temporary drive-in pop-up theaters.
Right.
Which I commend any, trying to figure out how to make it work. And we had to figure out how to make it work. Ruth, as well as anyone, having to space out the rows and extra sanitation and all the little steps. But the point was, even though we were limited in the crowd we could let in, we were still able to actually have a crowd in a theater. And that was a really unique, special thing that we were able to do. And we're so grateful to the Ragland as well and their team of being able to figure out how do we have an audience in a theater amidst this pandemic. Because that was a whole back end thing that their whole administrative team had to do. Right. And we just kind of rode the coattails and said, thank you very much. We'll still do our film festival here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was a whole crazy experience, but it was wonderful to have your film there. It's wonderful to have filmmakers in a theater watching their films on a screen and being able to give out awards for 2 years when everyone else was doing stuff over Zoom or over streaming sites, which again, is great that they were able to find a way to do something, but there's nothing like having that audience there to get instant reaction.
Oh my gosh.
And get to sit down and talk about what you made and actually hand people their awards.
Yeah.
So that was special. Yeah.
Well, one question is, I'm curious more about your documentary or your movie that was at the film festival. And just on your point, Kurt, about how important like the film festival is for like filmmakers, and you were talking about it, Nick, last year was pretty much my first film festival, like running it with you, Kurt. So that was super fun. And I just didn't know what to expect. But the filmmakers are what make it like just so much fun and so special to get to talk to everybody and just like how their energy is like the best thing ever. So super looking forward to celebrating this year and stuff. But yeah, I'm curious to learn more about, because it was before my time, Nick.
Yeah,
so yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about illegal.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, I think film festivals, it validates filmmakers. It gives them an opportunity on a much bigger screen and in a physical space to tell a story. And I think it's what any filmmaker or aspiring filmmaker wants, right? Is to have just a brief moment in time where they can, make a difference and people can see the value in their story. So the first, the feature film Illegal, that was a production that I directed back in, I guess that was 2018, 2019, and then screened in 2020. And that is a true story about an immigrant from El Salvador. It's a gentleman over in Ashland. His name's Laz Ayala. And the story goes is he grew up in El Salvador back down in like the 1980s, which meant Civil War and just a really terrible time for his people, and so he fled the country with his father and sister, and just came to the United States in the trunk of a car in Tijuana, Mexico. And so that's the story that I was privileged to tell. Now the story doesn't end there, and I don't want to give it away too much, but obviously he did find he did settle in Southern Oregon, which that's how I met Laz, 5 years ago.
Wow.
Wild. So anyway, that was a story that was told. My wife, Evelyn here, she got to go on the film trip. We went to El Salvador. There's a couple other, it was like was there like 6 or 7 of us filming? I mean, like our team about, there's like 6 or 7 of us. So that was like my first like international trip, like for filming purposes, like it was quite the ordeal, but amazing time. I think one of the parts that like made the film happen was like the fact that I spoke Spanish and I connected with Laz and I was able to communication like on like for any film project, like you got to be a strong communicator. And obviously in this case, language was key. So that film happened. I directed it, filmed it, edited it, and then we later submitted to film festivals. And so that really proud of that project. And if you are interested, I'm sure I can get you a link. It's on
like Apple TV and YouTube.
Oh,
You can, you know, it's on video on demand.
Great. I'll totally do Apple TV.
It's called
Illegal. And Laz, so it's about an illegal immigrant who comes to the U.S. and then goes through all the hoops necessary to become a legal citizen, and also played a really pivotal role in our region because Laz is now a very important individual in Southern Oregon in real estate and construction, and has played a pivotal role in the reconstruction of talent in Phoenix after the fires that happened there. So he's played a major role in those communities coming back after the massive fire that happened in what, 2020? 2020, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story. I mean, it's really amazing. Like, because you know, you like making this film, it almost feels like it's hard to believe like this actually happened. But these are, and we get to tell the story, and so that's like again the magic of filmmaking is like we can, you know, you find these like great stories, and if you know you are just blessed with the opportunity to tell them, like all the more amazing. So yeah, Laz, great guy, and really just proud that, you know, he got to, you know, that he chose me of all people to tell that story.
Yeah. So
well, Laz, you know, he really did enjoy the process of filmmaking, and you know, he's talked about, you know, maybe a film in the future. So, you know, TBD.
And it's also a really important story to tell because of the postscript of looking at the devastation of those fires in those communities, and how someone, you know, for as much as in our politics and society, there's this endless bashing of immigrants in this country. And yet here's one that, what would Phoenix and talent look like right now if Laz was not in that area? So like maybe it would have still rebuilt, but he's played a key role in those communities coming back from that devastating fire. Exploded in talent. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And your award. So 2020, when you got that award, that was the first year we started doing the special thing with our awards too.
Oh, man,
so for those that don't know, 2020, we decided, you know, we're the Made in Oregon Film Festival. What's more made in Oregon than wood products? So let's start making our awards out of wood. And thankfully, there's some amazing wood crafters here in the Klamath area that agreed to make our trophies, but they would only do it on the stipulation that instead of just making the same statue over in Oregon like every other festival does, they wanted to make every award unique and specific to that winning film, which is crazy that they do that, but we're so appreciative that they do because it really makes us stand out. The filmmakers love it because, you know, especially if a film makes the rounds and goes to a lot of festivals, and if it's a really well-made film, it may pick up quite a few awards. And a lot of the filmmakers that we talk to that are on the more professional high-end range, you know, they have a closet full of plaques and little statues.
Yeah.
But the thing they got from us goes on the coffee table because it's something that's about their film. Like a plaque and a statue looks cool, but if you have a big giant wooden outhouse on your coffee table, people are going to ask, what the hell is that? Yeah. And how did you get it? And sparks the whole conversation.
It sits on one of our editors' desk in our office. Like every day, you know, I see it, and it just brings up so many great memories. And honestly, Kurt's exactly right. I mean, other film festivals, they'll give you just like a little, you know, plaque or something, but that's, you know, what we receive for Illegal, I mean, it'll be with me forever.
So our main guy, Bill, he made a lathed kind of curved map that shows El Salvador to Ashland as a bus route.
Yeah.
On a little pedestal. So that's the award that he got for his film.
Pretty.
Wow.
And every year, if you come to our festival Sunday night, once we finish the last of our films, that's when we hand out our awards. So we'll have, this year we're adding an additional award. So we'll have 7 hand-carved custom trophies that we give out this year.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that. I got to see Bill today in his shop, and he showed me some of the stuff he's working on. And I just wanted to say how much joy it brings them as well. Like they love making those trophies and they remember each one, and it's just really special. So I love getting to see these 2 different art forms like come together with with that trophy and those awards. So really cool stuff, and yeah, just love it. So, and that was Kurt's idea. So props to Kurt, because it's really, really cool that we do that. And I don't think I understood it when I first started. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so little time. How would they ever do that? Maybe I should ask them to just make it the same. And he was like, oh my God, you do not get it. Like, and I was like, you're right, I don't, Bill. I'm sorry. So he's very adamant about it, and it's really fun to see.
It makes us stand out with the filmmakers. So, you know, Cassie and I both have been fortunate to talk to a lot of the filmmakers that have come to our festival in past years that are going off and doing other things. A couple of weeks ago, I was back in Eugene and had a meeting with some folks there who are looking to start or restart the Eugene Film Festival. And so they wanted to pick my brain for a while of how do you do it in Klamath and what's all the things that you do. And one of the filmmakers who's been with our festival a couple of years said, and he, very well-off filmmaker. He's got films on Amazon Prime and Netflix and is doing great. Taylor Morden, good buddy of mine. You may know him best. He's the one who made the documentary film about the last Blockbuster store in Bend that's been all over Netflix. And so he was talking to the president of this new nonprofit in Eugene that's trying to start the film festival. He said, look, I make films all over the world now. I'm in huge demand, but Klamath is one of only maybe 2 or 3 festivals where I will send everything I make. And it's because they treat the filmmakers right. Oh. Which I realize I'm biased in saying that, but that's his words, not mine. So with that, we have a couple questions in the chat. So it looks like we, before we delve into duplicity, maybe this involves duplicity too. Nina's asking, I had a question about funding. What did you do for getting funding for your film projects? So obviously the commercial work pays for itself, but for illegal and duplicity, how'd you deal with fundraising?
Yeah, Nina, that's the $1 million question, right?
You got $1 million?
Unfortunately, not yet, but yeah, I think that's one of those elements that oftentimes prevent us filmmakers of moving forward with a project, right? It's always the money, or you don't have the proper resources, whether that's equipment. But as you know, I mean, NAF, we've even used some of the Klamath film gear, and that's been for commercial projects even really helpful to us. But yeah, funding. So with the illegal, there was a couple things that happened. First of all, Laz Ayala, he starred in his own movie, but he also produced the movie. So he financed a piece of it, but the other part of it, Nina, was crowdfunded. So we did a crowdfunding campaign via, I think it was Kickstarter, back in like 2019, I think. And so we already essentially had like the movie made, but then we wanted to pay to do the marketing and to get the movie out on, just kind of promote on social media, of course, go to film festivals, which, there are costs involved. And so we had support from all over the world. I'm not kidding you. Of course, a lot from the US. And we had people like in Europe that were, every $50, $100, $200, it adds up. So, how we got there is we created just like kind of like a Kickstarter video where me as the director, I introduced myself, I was in El Salvador with Laz Ayala, and we explained why the film was important, what is the outcome of this film, and why they should back it. And so that's how illegal was, how it was successful financially, just to have it, be made and edited and then later marketed. So a little bit of crowdfunding. And then for duplicity, that was a project where it was heavily experimental. And I realized as, the director and the owner of the company that, we just don't really have a narrative resume yet. We don't have any narrative resume. We only do commercials. So, how are we supposed to like pitch this to anyone, to investors? And so instead of like going for like a feature film, we decided like a short would be a lot more reasonable. So that meant, reaching out to the community. And that's where, Nick Alexander Films, we produced the film. We put our time and our money into what was needed. There was a few other people like Carson and local organizations that supported the film in different ways, not just financially.
I'll just say that law enforcement, the PD, sheriff, the fire department, even local restaurants, like, helped make the film happen. And like, I mean, again, I'm jumping ahead here, Kurt, but there's a couple scenes in the film where I'm working with like police officers, and I'm telling them like how I want them to kick down the door. Like, this is just so awesome. And what I loved about it was not so much like that they did it or like the outcome, but just their heart. Like I talk to the police chief, and yeah, what do you need? What do you need? Okay. Wow. Like that. So anyway, so yeah, illegal and duplicity, very different projects, especially like how, financially it came about. I guess my word of wisdom about like funding a film is just try to like simplify. First of all, like if you can't go, like we wanted to do a feature film, but we decided let's do a short first and see how that goes. And now because we did a short, we got to work with some great actors such as Wayne and others here in Klamath. And so you just got to start somewhere, and the funding will come. You'll find a way.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Did you watch The Offer, or you were taking notes?
And
good show.
Yeah.
Not to get too personal, or you don't have to be too direct, but about the price difference cost between the two. Mind discussing that part?
So I think on illegal, I want to say the budget was, I think it's on Film Freeway. I want to say it's like 90, 100,000. I'd have to check what it says on the website, but
a lot of travel expense involved in it. So that definitely boosted the numbers quite a bit on the budget.
Yeah, Film Freeway, that's where, well, Kurt can tell you more about that, but yeah, the illegal, and here's the thing, also a really important note, there's a difference between like making the film and distributing the film. Yes. So like I say 90, 100,000, Laz, it wasn't that he just wanted to make a film. He wanted to make a point. He wanted to tell his story. Wow. So he, like, unbeknownst to me, I'm sure he spent, he invested even more than that. I don't know. Again, I don't know the numbers, but I know he put a lot of time and money and resources into that film. So wow. I would say around 100,000 to do, production, and I'm sure some marketing. Now, duplicity, on the other hand, was nothing near that. Right. I want to say, like, I put down on Film Freeway, it was around like $5,000. And again, that, was again, like, we wanted to take care of our actors. We, paid, different people for their work. Food was another one. There were different, expenses that we had to cover. So it was very, for us, it feels like it was a lot, but in reality, to make it happen, like looking back, I tell Carson and Riley, it's like, okay, we can do it. Like you can find ways to be efficient with the budget. And hopefully that like encourages people to do the same and not see like, not like see like, oh, $100,000, like that's impossible. Like use the resources that are in front of you. Right. Like you can, look around the table, look into your community. That's what we did.
Thanks.
And you bring up a really interesting point that about our community in general, and the fact that there aren't enough productions happening in the area around here yet to where people have become jaded about it. There's still a genuine curiosity about filmmaking in this area where people are excited about the prospect of a film just being shot in the area. We've been doing a lot of location scouting and compiling images of potential sites to use for any of the inquiries that we get for films. And I remember a couple, maybe it was about 2 years ago, I was just walking down High Street, kind of downtown, where the old, really unique old houses are, just above downtown, and just knocking on doors with my camera and my business card and saying, "Hi, can I come take photos of your bathroom and basement?" And people were like, what now? Like, it's for a film. Oh, well, if it's for a film, come on in, like come take a look around. And I had these amazing conversations with people who own these incredible homes around here, wanting me to photograph every last little corner of it, and would, for months after the fact, be calling me or sending me random emails saying, is that film still coming? Because we'll move into a hotel for a month just so that they can, if they want to knock down a wall in their house for cameras, I mean, whatever they want to do, we're just excited that they would want to film here. So there's still this genuine interest in the prospect of films being made in the Klamath Basin. And hopefully we don't lose that over time. It might be a good thing if we have so many productions happening. People are like, oh, damn, they're detouring Main Street again because there's cameras everywhere. But like, I lived in Hollywood for 12 years. I worked all around there for a very long time. And even though people think of Hollywood, with this grand nostalgia, people around there kind of hate filmmaking because it's constant. And so there's always detours, and you have to move, you have to park somewhere else. You have to move your car, and all these annoyances that people get frustrated. Oh man, they're filming another movie in my neighborhood. Damn it. But around here, there's people that still are excited about that prospect. So when you say, like, you call up the police chief and they're like, sure, how many cars do you need and an ambulance and anything else? We're happy to be a part of it, and we'll do whatever. There's that genuine enthusiasm for just the idea of a film being made.
I think we enter a project like that with a lot of like skepticism, like, oh, no one's going to want to help us out. It's going to be rough. Oh, it's going to, the legalities, privacy, like all these things that in my head are swirling, like it's not going to be possible. And usually through this project, it was like the opposite. Like they want to be involved. They were available. And I really did appreciate that about the Klamath Falls community, and hats off to, again, everyone involved. I mean, the places that we filmed, again, it was, friends or colleagues that just opened up their homes, and
you want to knock down a wall? Go ahead, right?
Yeah. I mean,
or a government building.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, again, looking back, now it's like, wait, like, of course they would have said yes, but like in that moment, like you feel very small as a filmmaker, like police chief, maybe could you do that? And again, just full support from everyone that participated in the project in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Oh, Kurt. Hey, Kurt, don't you know somebody that worked on a film project where there was a girl running naked down like Main Street?
Yes.
And somebody who drove the wrong direction almost ran her over?
Yes. So about 2 years ago, we had a short film shoot at Herald and News and Sugarman's Corner. And so we set up roadblocks to shoot in the middle of the night because the lead actress had to strip naked and do a dance on Main Street, right at the corner of Sugarman's. This is like 2 or 3 in the morning. And
you didn't invite me for that one.
Right. and we've got so I'm doing drone operations in the middle of the night filming it. And we've got probably 6 or 7 cameras pointed at this woman. And in the middle of a cut, all of a sudden, here comes an SUV almost like plowing right over her. And like she has to do like this whole spin just to avoid getting hit by this car. Everyone's freaking out. So folks around here know there's a lot of one-way streets downtown, and we put up roadblocks, but we didn't think of someone going the wrong way down a one-way, which they did, and then drove right through the middle of our closed film set, almost drove over our naked actress, went down to the end of the street, saw there was a roadblock, turned back around, came back to the intersection, said, hey, what's going on? Meanwhile, I've already dialed 911 and I'm delivering the plates to the operator saying, send a cop car because this person almost killed our naked actress in the middle of the street. So yes, that happened here. Yeah, that was a film.
If you do a shoot like that again, invite me and I'll hold a flashlight at the end of the road and try and turn traffic away. I may not be watching that direction the whole time, but I can help, right?
I should say it was very artistically done. It was appropriate and artistic nudity.
That's what they said about Debbie Does Dallas 3.
Yeah. No, but that makes a really great outtake. That is archived somewhere. That makes for right. Oh yeah, hey, I'm walking here. I'm walking. Yeah, that was totally, yeah, and it ended up in the film. Yeah.
Jay, film efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to go back to location, Nick and I actually, we knew our main filming location before we even knew we were going to shoot a short film movie. Our family friends who own the home that we do the majority of our film shooting in, invited us to their house one day, and as soon as we arrived, we were just astounded by the house and astounded by the location. And we were immediately talking film, cameras, and like, oh, we'd love to shoot something in your house. And our family friends were like, oh, all right, that sounds nice, but not enthusiastic about it. But luckily, we got the husband on a good day, and we completely sold him on it, and then he had to go. He basically told his wife, "Hey, I promised our house for short film," and so the wife kind of had to get on board. But it was all in good fun, and it was amazing how that turned out.
We have another question.
I just hope I didn't break that 100-year-old front door.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that has haunted me.
We have another question in the chat. Lori asked, Lori is interested to hear thoughts around how to know when you found a great story and the process for creating a film that amplifies the story and keeps the story great.
Wow. And I don't know if there's enough time to answer this question, but I'll do my best. I'll talk about illegal because I think that seems like kind of where the question is geared more to. So in terms of illegal, I met Laz through, interestingly enough, another video project. I was hired to just film his presentation at a Rotarian event. And, I was there filming, just, capturing him tell his story. And as I'm hearing him tell his story, the creative juices in my mind started to kind of flow. And I was thinking, man, like this guy has a pretty good story. Immigrant, came to the US, in the trunk of a car. I'm seeing the movie kind of play out in my own head. All right. After he presents, everyone's leaving. I walk up to Laz, I shake his hand, and I said, good job, yada, yada. And I just pitched it right there. I said, Laz, your life could be a movie. It could be a pretty good movie. And he looked at me, laughed, smiled, and said, thanks for the idea. Now, the idea, it stayed, again, I was like right out of college. I was just like, was I serious? Kinda, but I didn't. At the time, I was like, I'm just going to pitch it to this guy. But I just didn't think he would take me that seriously. So a couple months later, I get a phone call from an unknown number. It's Laz, and he wants to talk. We grab dinner. We talk about making a movie.
Wow.
And what's interesting is it went from, actually, he just wanted to do like a short, like a little trailer or something. And again, going big, just like with you guys, I was like, lads, if we're going to go all the way to El Salvador, like we should do a whole film, like feature length, 90 minutes. And, what I love about Laz is that he's a businessman and he's ambitious and he's a risk taker. So like me, he said, all right, heck, let's do the whole thing, as he would call me, compañero, partner. And so that's what would happen. Now, the question is about, finding a great story. For me, it's what we're doing here tonight. It's networking. It's just hanging out, finding people, making connections, keeping your ear just, again, to the floor, like what's going on in, whether it's Klamath or wherever. And for me, I just, interesting, before illegal, I was doing like a little short, like kind of documentary style films around, at the time, the Rogue Valley in Medford. And I would do little stories about like the Latino community, just little things, little bakery story here. Well, that was kind of preparing me for illegal. I didn't know that, but anyway, so finding a great story, just figure out what you're passionate about. You say, I'm passionate about X. Okay. go find those stories. There's probably something even here. It may not be a grandiose story, but start with the base. Just start, doing something you're passionate about. And then the other part is like, how do you like keep the story great? I think it's really important as a filmmaker that like for me as a director, I didn't want to like manipulate the story or like make it more cinematic just for the sake of it being more cinematic, right? So like I spent a lot of time with Laz. I think you just have to invest in the story, like try to like I had to keep my personal ideas and thoughts. Like I would share them with Laz and say, hey, I think this part of the story, like maybe we should emphasize this more, or this part of the story, it could go. But I was respectful of Laz because I didn't want to taint his story or manipulate it in any way. And he didn't want that either. He wanted to say, hey, this is what happened, guys, period. So you gotta work with your writer, or in this case, the protagonist of your story. And that goes not just in the filming, but also the editing. It's for the whole process. Yeah.
It's funny when you were saying that, Nick. I was flashing back, and I've had that thought before about my life. That it would make a really good story, but it would at least have to be rated R.
well, Wayne, you and I will talk after this meeting, and Wayne.
Just Wayne.
Wait. I was gonna say we already have Wayne's World, so Wayne's
Wayne verse. That's what it'll be.
I'm 2 steps ahead of you on that one. I already got a name.
John, you had a question.
Yeah, so I got a question. Is that when I'm thinking about even like my movie and stuff, it's like sometimes you have the concepts, like there's the points that you want to make, but there's a lot of dialogue, like that people just say along the way. And how do you fill that dialogue in? Because sometimes it's just like, we just want to hit these things, but even in regular movies, there's still a lot of interaction that may not be exactly
show don't tell is kind of the rule in filmmaking. Show don't tell. 1 second of film can equal 1,000 words.
You're right.
So
I'm thinking Blade Runner.
Yeah,
right.
Lots of visual. Okay, so do you guys do a lot of dialogue stuff, or is it more like showing, like he's saying, when you did your movie for like Illegal?
Yeah, no, that's really, really big topic there. I think for both projects, I'll talk about Illegal, and then you guys maybe can chime in about Duplicity. With Illegal, you're trying to tell a lot of story in about an hour and 19 minutes. And I think like looking back at it, there was a lot of dialogue, and I think there's a lot of interviews just for the sake of being a documentary film. But there was also parts where there was just imagery. There was I think for instance, the first part of the film when Laz is kind of talking, he does talk a little bit about him leaving his country when he was 12 years old, and there's just imagery with some music, and you see a bus and a truck. We actually literally crossed from the Salvadoran Guatemalan border, and just filming those, like that imagery, and just let the story speak, right? So not necessarily filling it in with dialogue. So I think for a documentary, like you do need dialogue. I should say you need to tell the story, but sometimes it's just better if you use those visuals. There's another moment in the film where there was a horrific massacre that took place in El Salvador, and one of the characters talks about it, and then we just kind of show the images, and it's like 15-30 seconds, and it's like enough said. Like we don't need to talk anymore. So less is more. I think especially in like a documentary where you're kind of expecting to hear a lot of talking, so if you can refrain from that, that is good. And then Riley and Carson, did you guys want to talk about Duplicity and just like, I don't know, using imagery and kind of showing versus telling?
For me, with like writing like Duplicity, I definitely believe in like show don't tell, but like Duplicity still is like plenty of like dialogue and like lines between the actors. For me, I'm trying to like, I'm like thinking of like the dialogue. I'm trying to like make it sound natural, but also with purpose. So just like, how can I like economically kind of like get across the points I need, but also like in a way that like sounds like a real conversation,
Right.
without also like saying too much or being like too word heavy. Do you have any?
Yeah, I think when we were writing the script for Duplicity, dialogue was one of the points that we really went over with a fine-tooth comb, because we had our plot, we had our story, and we knew where it was beginning and where it was going to end. And as we reviewed that script and went over dialogue and came up with it, we were trying to make that dialogue natural. Like, you know, people actually say this, when you watch it, it's not going to sound manufactured. And so we really went over the dialogue to make sure that it didn't come across like a script.
So
yeah,
John,
I mean, I remember a particular wrestling match that I found interesting. You know, there wasn't a lot of words in there, but that was fun. There's another time somebody was eating a snack that I thought added a lot to it, and not a lot of dialogue, just character, but it was all based on the script.
So good.
Does anyone else here have a question for our guests? Those who haven't had a chance to chime in yet, I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to talk. If you got something that you want to pitch in with. No? Okay. Well, if not, John, I have something real quick that I can add to that in terms of show, not tell. So here's the example that we used at our film camp earlier this month, because typically everyone at some point in school, or if you are an avid reader, creative writing, you have to set the scene through words. And if you have multiple characters are talking, you're writing out that entire conversation. Visually, though, you can either, you can write out the whole backstory and context of characters and everything, but visually we can tell all of that in as short as a second or two. And so an example that I like to give is our story is about a single mom, recently went through a divorce, has a teenager that they're having difficulty connecting with. They're angry because parents split up, or for whatever reason. We could do the whole backstory of showing parents arguing at home and then talking to lawyers in a courtroom and the kid dealing with it, and minutes full of this whole backstory. But with film having that visual, Wayne, could you please mute your mic?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll see if I can figure it out.
With film, we have the opportunity to tell that entire backstory that could take pages in a book with just a second or two of film. So you could show a woman asleep on a couch with a book on her chest about something like how to connect with your teen as a single parent or something. Maybe they have like glasses that are like that, so they like fell asleep still in their work clothes and they're utterly exhausted. Just have that as a setting shot, as an opening shot. And then maybe off screen or something, you hear some teen shout like "Mom" or something. And in that 1 second, the audience has the entire story and knows exactly what's going on. And you can skip those pages and pages of all that context and backstory. It's not needed, because through that visual can tell 1,000 words. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, even when you were saying that, it reminded me of the one movie that they made. It was like an old Western in Oregon, I think. We had it at the film festival or something.
Oh,
and it was just
Meek's Cutoff.
Yeah,
shot in 2008.
The visuals and everything just made you feel how desolate, I mean, it just they didn't have to say anything, just the feeling of the visuals and other things. So I mean, yeah, I it just kind of hit me that something like that too.
So audio is what sets an emotional tone in film, but visuals can tell the story almost better than people talking can tell a story. And that, yeah. I say silent. I'm a huge silent film fan, and it's because I mean they would occasionally have cutaways where they'd put text on screen, but for the most part, it was actors telling a story without any sound, and so they had to overly accentuate and emote and make sure that what they were trying to convey came across on screen. That and the fact that Buster Keaton's just the greatest stuntman in history. The stuff he was doing a century ago was insane. So, and that's like without safety nets and wires and all of the no green screens.
I always remember the guy on the clock tower,
Oh, Harold Lloyd, yeah.
I mean, that one's another one. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, so some of the things they did in silent films are absolutely incredible. They're great to go back and watch, like some of the action sequences, and just knowing like they just pointed the camera and said go, and hope you don't die in the middle of the film.
And
oh yeah,
westerns, yeah. You mean
the classic spaghetti westerns, the whole Fistful of Dollars series. I mean, the main character never even has a name. He says maybe 10 words throughout the entire films, and yet there's so much emotion that's conveyed just in facial expressions.
Well, to go back to Duplicity, I have so much high regard for this genre of like murder mystery and stuff and everything. So is that kind of intimidating to like dip your toes into, especially as like a first narrative thing that you want to show from NAF? So how was that process like?
Yeah. Well, I know with Riley and Carson and I, we were kind of brainstorming there in the office, different ideas. Could we do this? Could we do that? Because a lot of times it just came down to like, what can we do with a very small budget, with just limitations and what we can do at that time. So, I think if I recall correctly, I pitched the idea of a murder mystery, and we seemed like that was like within reason of what we could do in terms of like our cinematography, in terms of the backdrop of Klamath County. We, like Carson said, you're like, oh, we could film here and there. Yeah. And so it was just a genre that I guess I'm enamored with, and I enjoy, like the Knives Out, movie,
so
right?
Good, yeah.
And so I think
it was the one that I kept thinking of when I was watching.
Yeah. So I think, there was a lot of inspiration, and of course, like it had its own challenges, and that's like in the screenwriting, we had a lot of conversation, like how do we, not make it so like finding, because like when you think about it like a whodunit, you think, okay, we don't want to make it obvious. It can't be this guy, or it can't end this way. Yeah. And so that was also challenging because like, we could never really come to like the perfect plot, right? That would, surprise everyone, right? But yeah, definitely, even looking back, it was still a challenging genre, and I'm still happy that we did it. That really enabled us to use a lot of different actors and kind of utilize just again the resources we had here in Klamath. Riley and Carson, did you guys want to chime in?
It also has a bit of it's not shot as a film noir, but it definitely harkens back to 30s and 40s film noir mystery films. That was a very popular genre in that era, and it has that same kind of vibe to it. So,
well, I'll add to Nick's point. Yeah, writing a murder mystery, kind of trying to have a bit of a thriller-esque to it, was definitely challenging. And Riley and I, we did bounce around a lot of ideas, and it took us a while to, come up with something. I think that's why Nick came in and said, "Hey, what about this idea?" We couldn't come up with anything. We kept coming up with something that'd been done, or like we didn't like. And besides, my Western script wasn't ready yet, and my post-apocalyptic script is too big for a project, so we couldn't go with those. But yeah, once we got the idea and ran with it, it came pretty naturally to us. It wasn't too. It was challenging, but the work moved on, and we progressed.
Awesome. Wow. That's so impressive, because it's seriously like thinking of something like that and playing it out and all the different actors. That would be so difficult. So it was so fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to having it on the big screen too.
Yeah. If we get the casting, we can go through that too, because the casting, I was nervous going into it, trying to think of who we were going to get and everything.
Yeah. Please dive into that. I'm
all right.
Yeah.
When we had our casting call, we had it at the old news studio downtown, and we we'd been advertising the casting call, and we didn't know who was going to show up. I was nervous. I was nervous about who we were going to get.
Yeah.
And the quality. We had a couple people that we knew were going to definitely come. And so I was thinking, all right, well, if worst comes to worst, we'll just, use the people we know, but we got really lucky.
Oh, awesome.
Really fortunate to get who we got. And I think when, the casting call started and Wayne came on, Lindsay came on, Brooke, Bowen, Eric, Corey, the rest of everybody we had in there. Like, I just remember sitting back in my chair and just kind of like knowing, and I'd look at these guys and I go, yeah, I think this one,
cool.
We were filling our requirements like really quickly. You have something to say?
I was gonna say that really for the first time, Riley, Carson, and I, we kind of saw parts of our film being played out, right? And I'll never forget you, Wayne. Oh my gosh, Wayne, he shows up and we have him play out a part of the film that, I mean, just watching him, I mean, I'll never forget his performance sitting there in this chair in the newsroom. And then, a couple months later, I'm filming you, Wayne, in that truck, in that same scene. And it was just, I mean, it so close to, I mean, it was perfect. So it was just great to see, again, the talent here in Klamath, come to our casting call. And then again, for us, to have them in our film, and then too, just like improv. That was another piece I was going to say about like, those like the talking pieces and the dialogue simplicity. I mean, there's I mean, of course you wouldn't know this, but we can tell you, like, there's certain parts that were just kind of played out, and we said, hey, we want you to do this thing, and throw in kind of the words you want and such. And wow. It really came together.
Usually the rule is that a script is a guide, it's not the law. And so actors are given room on different takes. I mean, maybe do one take exactly like the script, and then try it your way, and then we'll try it this way, we'll try it that way, and they end up with 6 or 7 different takes of the same scene, and each sequence might have some different nuances, and then in editing they'll figure out which one they like best.
Yeah, I'll add.
Yeah, that was a very collaborative project. That was just a joy to work on. I couldn't guess how many hours that I spent rehearsing this and dreaming about it and trying to, make sure I understood what was going on. It was wonderful. And I would act with you guys again. Well, what time is it? Make it tomorrow.
Yeah, we've definitely discussed that, Wayne, about having you.
You're coming back.
Yeah, you're on the list. But I will reinforce what Nick said. Like, it is something very special when you start to see your film come alive. And like Riley and I, we had an idea of who these characters were on the page. I knew they looked different to me, as they look different probably to Riley, but we had a general idea of what they looked like. But then as the casting call rolled on, and we just, we saw faces put to the names, I was like, yeah, that matches the character I'm thinking about. And so it's just very magical, having these people bring these characters to life. For sure.
Main characters did you gather at that casting?
We had 8 characters that we needed to cast, and we cast them all through that one casting call.
Yeah.
But we had probably almost 15 people.
Yeah, supporting cast.
Almost 15 people come out to the roll call.
And then the extras. You had a lot of extras that showed up that day.
Yeah.
Outside the house.
As we needed.
Yeah.
And speaking of, we do need extras for the films coming up again. So if anyone wants to be an extra in a film shooting soon, talk to me and we'll make sure you're part of that. October 3rd through the 5th. We've got about 15 minutes left, and we always want to make sure people get a chance to chime in as we go around. But is there any final thoughts on Duplicity that you want to share before everyone gets a chance to kind of chime in on stuff? Oh, we should also say,
are we going to be able to watch it?
Yeah, so it is actually the very last film we're showing in this year's film festival. So Sunday night around 6:30-ish, I think, is when it's scheduled to go. So Sunday, September 24th.
Not tonight then.
Yeah.
No. Gotta wait, Wayne.
Poor Wayne.
This poor guy's been waiting a long time.
Yeah, the actors who appear in it still haven't seen the film. Yeah. So like just these guys and Cassidy and I are the only ones who have actually seen the film. Yeah.
Is that the world premiere? Am I right?
That'll be it. Yeah, I think just in general, couple things just to kind of close, and then happy to answer any questions or these guys as well. Again, big thank you to Klamath Film, and even when we were trying to get this film going, you guys were sharing our posts about the casting and getting the word out, and just in general, we're just really proud to have made this film, regardless of where it goes or how it fares in any film festival. It just was a really amazing experience, and we look forward to doing more films here in Southern Oregon and Klamath. And so I know NAF, we are in conversations about more different films, and maybe a feature a narrative feature film we'd like to film in Oregon, just in the state of Oregon, but kind of Oregon centric film, so to speak. So we're just we're just really excited for what's next. And speaking of casting calls and extras, from time to time we are also looking for actors for sure in Klamath Falls and over in Medford. So I would highly recommend to follow us on social media, Nick Alexander Films. From time to time we do have casting calls here in Klamath Falls. Specifically, there's been, I think, a couple this spring and summer. So you can follow us online, or of course just hit me up. I'd love to just exchange emails or whatever, because and then on top of that, there are times where, like for this project, we might need additional hands, some PAs or people that just want to learn more about the process. So just want to be open and available to you guys. So
thank you for the kind words, Nick.
Well, you guys have my contact information. So, and I've done a good bit of acting in Medford, Grants Pass, Jacksonville, what the heck, Ashland, all over there.
I think the biggest role that Klamath Film has played here is actually a few kicks in the rear to say, hey, Nick, finish editing that thing, because we're keeping a spot open for you, and we kind of need the finished film here. So
it was great. Yeah. Well worth the wait, shall we say. It was awesome.
Absolutely.
Is the night sky around here, because it's
right,
the darkest in the 48.
Yeah, it's there's a few advantages that the Klamath area has that we try to sell to Hollywood for coming here, and one is a lot of sunshine, and normally a lot of clear skies, but also diversity of landscapes, because a production, a lot of the money goes into transportation. So we can sell Klamath on the idea that you can set up shop where we're sitting now and think about driving 15 minutes in any different direction, and you're going to get completely different outdoor landscapes. That way you've got open ag plains, that way you've got desert, that way you've got forests, that way you've got lakes and rivers. And then that way you've got downtown, which our downtown will never be major metro, but it's very cinematic for a rural small town anywhere USA. And so that diversity is really advantageous for a film production.
We were just several years ago, we were driving to Winnemucca, and you get out.
Oh yeah,
between here and Lakeview.
Yeah.
And suddenly you look up, and you can count the stars in the north.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was wondering how that was.
You got like that one mountain that I always call it the edge of the world, as you go up.
Yeah,
it's past Winnemucca. You go
You go up,
No,
you
it's
go
a
up
road
Doherty
between,
Slide.
it's a road between Lakeview
Yeah.
and Winnemucca. You got that one that
But
goes up
it's
the
just-
side.
Oh yeah, where it pops out of like Adele and all that.
Yes, that's
So I moved from Hollywood to Lakeview. If you want to talk about a culture clash, but I remember when like one of the first nights I was in Lakeview, I suddenly stopped at my doorstep, looked up, and was like, "What the hell?" Because like, I'm so used to street lights and helicopters and LA, and all of a sudden it's like, what are all of these things? Like the whole sky's lit up. This is incredible. Yes, that is another big selling point for us is rural and wilderness, and having night skies is another selling point for our region. Yeah.
And if I can add one thing, where I'm pointing my finger right now is the top of Kurt's head. And he's got to be one of the greatest resources in filmmaking for a long ways out.
Our director is sitting over there. It's not me. No.
Oh, I know, but and she will learn from you. But yeah, he is a tremendous resource.
Well, thank you, sir. We want to give everyone a chance to chime in before we call it a night, and thank you everyone for joining us. But I do have one quick question. How much brainstorming and sleepless nights went into coming up with the name of your company? Because that the branding is really important, so you're stuck with it.
Yeah. Great logo. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, gosh, names are important, right? I mean,
that's why you clearly spent so much time working.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
No, about two some years ago. Well, actually, it was before that. I was going to say the logo was like we actually came up with the logo. I guess it was like 2.5 years ago. But before that, yeah, just trying to figure out, what. Gosh, this was like 5, 6, 7 years. I guess, yeah, it was a while back. But yeah, I mean, I pitched. I guess I like to myself, oh, it could do this or it could do that. But something that, for me would never change is my name. And so, at the time I didn't really have like a huge like network and everything, but I knew like if I were to build out that network, my reputation would precede me and my name would go on with it. So yeah, I mean, Nick Alexander, I mean, that's who I am. That we've chatted over the years, maybe changing it to something else. What I like to say about NAF, or
I had to fight to get a little recognition.
But I always like to say now, as our team has grown a lot and we have, offices in multiple cities, and at the end of the day, the name, what I like to say is it's not just one guy. It used to be a one-man band, and there are those type of guys or gals that they just kind of do things themselves and hire out. And for me, when I Riley and then other people joined the team, and it became so much more than myself. And what's cool about that is Riley and Carson, when we were coming up with this idea, I mean, some of the ideas that they came up with, like I never would have reached to that conclusion or like come up with that naming or that character idea. So that's really where, working as a team, where the NAF, like it's like my name's in the business company name, but it's so much more of a team effort. So it's really so yeah, I guess the process, I mean, came up with the name, and the logo, like I want to do something with a camera, something film, and then it worked out. So
yeah. So someone's got to sign the checks. So
Shirt, Nick.
It's like Walt Disney. There's so many people behind it.
Right.
You guys look like
when you watch Duplicity, the credits, my little homage was Rocky Mountain Pictures. That's me.
Oh, nice. That's
I had to
awesome.
fight to get that in there.
So let's start with our.
That's cool. I just want my name in like, I don't know, 60 font text.
Next project went. Next project really well.
So let's go through our folks on Zoom and give them a final chance to either ask a quick question or any final thoughts they may have. So Nina, let's go ahead and start with you. Anything you want to say to Nick Alexander Films?
I just want to say thanks for sharing your process. I really appreciate it. It's helpful to hear how others do things too, to get more ideas on how to smooth out the process. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Lori, do you have a final question or something you want to add?
Good to see you.
Yeah, I want to say a big thank you to Riley, Carson, and Nick, and anybody else with NAF that showed up. Thank you for talking at this meeting. And I'm just curious, for Duplicity, was there any funny bloopers or anything spontaneous that like was into the film that maybe
did
wasn't
have
written?
Wayne in it, right?
Yeah, see, Wayne was in the film, so by default.
Yeah, maybe we should just let Wayne talk on.
We'll have to watch it.
Yeah, just that wet part, you know. No, I don't want to give away too much. I've given away too much already.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, there's definitely, I think, you know, all the laughter you're hearing, Lori, that's just evidence of the type of production it was. You know, Wayne and the crew,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, they were all smiles, you know, the production team, we were having a great time. I mean, I think like every day we're, you know, up filming till midnight, you know, it was
Yeah.
but honestly, like the energy and the excitement, everyone was just on their game. And gosh, I mean, I'm sure Riley and Carson, you guys can probably think of like a more specific instance, but I just feel like overall the kind of the vibe of the set is like, you know, we're working on this film and we're having fun. And that's really what,
yeah.
you know, I learned, I mean, before I started NAF, you know, I went on some shoots and sets and, you know, I had some good experiences and other times, man, it was just very like stiff and intense. And I remembered like thinking to myself, like, I want to create a different environment, one that's, again, professional and we got to be serious, but still like, you know, smiling a little bit and just, you know, having, you know, like relationships and not because, you know, it's again, it's about relationships. So did you guys, I don't know, did you want to mention any moments?
And yeah, let's do it again tomorrow.
Well, for me, the moment that I remember the most is on the days that we were shooting. I was the one who was in the cast RV, hanging out with the cast, either helping them answer questions about their characters, about the script, but just in general hanging out with them while they waited to go up for the scene that we needed to shoot. Adding that personal layer from the crew to the cast and being that connecting force. So that was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
It was very collaborative.
Oh. Do we dare let Wayne have a final word?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very collaborative project. They had a wonderful script. I fell in love with the script immediately. The concept, it was like, yeah, there's no question whatsoever if I'm going to jump on board. I'm on with this. Do it over again. But the fact it was so collaborative just really, you know, made it so special for me. Because I've got this really bad habit of spending hours and hours and hours and hours doing research and building character and, you know, trying to understand the script. And so when I show up, it's like, I'm ready to go, you know, and one of the worst mistakes I may have ever made in my short acting career the last 10, 20 years is on the first table read. I was sitting next to Nick and asked him, is it okay to, oh heck, what's the term?
Improv?
Kind of
Ad lib?
Yeah.
Yeah, ad lib.
Yeah.
That, but he said, "Yeah, you can do that." He didn't say everybody else could do that.
Well, Anthony, do you have any final words you want to add?
I would like to say personally, thank you to all y'all's stories. I'm personally inspired due to I just reset my career path going through the same school. So nice. I appreciate it. And sharing y'all's stories. One last, but I'm sorry about my question. I always have a question just to warn you about the approximate time y'all spent on writing the script as far as after the main plot was thought of.
Ellie, you wanna...
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't actually know. I didn't really keep track of any of the time I spent on this project.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, my wife chimes
They
in.
usually had their meetings at my house. I know. Lots of nights. Yeah.
It all blurs together after a while, right? Yeah.
In terms of writing the script, it took us about a month to get the script done. And that's because Nick and we were trying to time crunch so that we could start shooting in the spring. April was our target, but we ended up in May. And some other stuff lagged behind with that. But that was just all the experience of making a short film for the first time and going through all the hurdles and learning.
Nice to see I'm not making money on solid actors.
Ruth, thank you so much for coming out and joining us for, hopefully this has been interesting to you. Do you have any final words you want to add, or pass a mic down that way? John, could you throw that mic that way?
On the spot. Yeah.
It's just been interesting to hear, from someone who's got no clue and really no aspirations. Although I will talk to you about being an extra, because
fantastic.
I think that's within the realm of possibilities for somebody,
Terrific. We'll work it around the guild schedule to make sure that you can be a part of the film.
And when you're at the theater, make sure you clean up after yourself.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Yes. Please take all items to the trash at the end of shows. Make Ruth's life a little bit easier. But again, thank you for everything that you do for the theater too. The Ragland, we can't do what we do as an organization without the Ross Ragland. It is a really instrumental piece of Klamath Film and has been from the inception of the organization. So we try to make sure it's said at every festival, but we do want to reiterate as much as possible. Thank you to the Guild and to everyone involved with the theater for giving us such a unique setting for us to be able to put on the festival, because the theater does become a big part of what we do and a big appeal for the filmmakers.
Yeah. Thanks, Jay. Did you have anything
Jay?
else to say? No. Okay, great. You did, Jay. You're film aficionado, as I said. Yeah, I just wanted to say, Riley, Carson, Nick, thank you all so much for being here. Evelyn, it's awesome to have you guys, and just so appreciate your time and sharing your thoughts and work. And also, just Nick Alexander Films being in Klamath Falls is huge for our businesses, for really giving a spotlight on local people and having this passion for it. It's so important. And also it just shows that this is such a land of opportunity for people. The fact that this business can not only be here, but that it's thriving, and like the stories that you're sharing. So it's so important. And thank you so much for being a part of our community. It's amazing. Yeah.
It looks like we lost Bodan.
He did. His house dad came.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Owning a local film production company here, first starting out, you actually start out in fear, and seeing someone like you has done it, you're in multiple locations, it just takes the fear away, honestly.
Oh,
nice to see.
Well, and speaking of a filmmaker who just moved to our area, that might be your competition, Logan.
Hi. I once again, thank you guys for coming. It was a lot of fun to hear all these stories. It's been a lot of fun to be here. And I'm just hoping to network a little bit here and just be an extra pair of hands on set. That's all I've ever wanted to be, really.
You want to be an extra in an upcoming feature film?
Kinda. Yeah. So yeah, it's been fun. So thank you all for having me out here.
Thanks for finding us.
Evelyn, you're kind of unofficially part of the group too. Anything you want to add?
Just thank you for having us. It's been like really great to be part of.
Perfect. John, let's get that mic back down for John. If you've got a question or something you want to chime in with.
I imagine there's a lot of things I'd like to ask, because like, it's just like Anthony. It's like, I think, at least you can see that it's possible, things can happen, because sometimes you think it's a small town dilemma, where, who are we out here thinking that we're going to do something to compete with Hollywood, for crying out loud. But you can't always think that way. It's more about enjoying the process like you're doing, and not worrying about so much that other stuff. And as you hit roadblocks, you guys, just be positive, and things open up. And like you say, around here, they're more open to do things to help out. And so, yeah, I mean, I just hope that when I get my project going, I might have to bounce my, things off of you guys if you're open for it, because, and it may be a project like you said, you had something bigger you wanted to do, maybe post-apoc, and, I'm a more cyberpunk. I want to make a cyberpunk movie. And, but I can see that it might take a little bit of other steps to do first to kind of get ready for that, since it's pretty ambitious. So I was just kind of, I might be learning from you guys a lot, but I appreciate everything you're doing, and thank you for coming out.
Well, in the words of Kevin Smith, if you want to be a filmmaker, congrats, you are one.
Yeah.
Just if you want to do it,
Robert Rodriguez,
Yeah.
film cap. You want to be a director? You are one now.
Yeah.
I love it.
Carson, Riley?
Yeah, I'll just add that this passion project, we learned a lot, and we know what to do, we know what not to do, we know what to do better. One of the decisions that Nick and I decided on was, when this project took so much time, so much effort, we're not doing shorts anymore. We are doing feature-length films, because the reward has to be bigger than what a short can provide.
Well, if you're going to put all that time in to get it going, you might as well make it the real thing. Is that what you're saying?
And so I'm glad that instead of just doing one act, which was the initial idea, we ended up doing 4 acts, about 30 minutes of filming. And so, yeah, I'm just ready, to move on to the next project, keep learning, growing with Nick. Riley?
Yeah, after what feels like countless hours working on this, I'm glad that we can share it soon at the festival, and glad to be here at this meeting.
Great. And Nick, the floor is yours, sir. If you have any advice or final words or suggestions or whatever you would like to wrap us up.
Awesome. Well, yeah, again, thanks guys for coming, and you guys online as well. It's always fun just to, we so much of the time we're just kind of nose to the grindstone working, 24/7, and just, banging out another edit, another film video project. And it's just nice to come up for air for a moment and kind of reflect on what have we done, and in this case Duplicity, sharing our processes and what we did right, how we can improve. And I think just in general, what I've found in life is wherever you're placed, grow, right? So for me, moving to Klamath back in 2020, it was all right, I can just, be bitter, or I can complain. I can, wish this and that. By the end of the day, then that's not going to do anything for me. So I just started getting connected with the Chamber of Commerce, got connected with the Klamath Film, and I met people. And so it really just comes down to relationship building. And even though Klamath, it's a small community, but there's a lot of opportunity at the same time. And so for NAF, we're just really excited for the future, and hope that the community continues to just come together with filmmakers like ourselves and support our projects, because it really, like Kurt's saying, it's just going to benefit Klamath Falls and the community all the more when these projects are happening. And Duplicity truly is just a little project, but it still has some pretty cool outcomes.
And you can see Duplicity at its world premiere Sunday, September 24th at the Ross Raglan Theater around like 6:30-ish. To end this year's Klamath Independent Film Festival. If anyone can help us out with putting up posters or yard signs around town, please talk to Cassidy. She has a bunch in her car. She will happily unload on you. And we also need volunteer help at the festival itself, if anyone is willing to assist. And hopefully we will see you at the Ragland in a couple of weeks. Thank you everyone so much for coming out, and we'll do this again next month.
Yeah, you too.
And thank you everyone online for joining us.
Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, where's your potato chips?
There he is.